Hi, Mary Esther Gilbert here, back again for video number 3 for my health transformation series, Microcellular Nourishment for Lifelong Optimal Health. In the last video, I spoke about the 9 basic elements that are required to reverse the disease process, improve your health, and ensure lifelong health vibrancy. I'm going to go over these very quickly and then go on to the rest of this section of the series. So as I said in video 2, there are these 9 factors that you need to make sure that you implement for your health every single day and to keep in mind so that your body has every single possible factor so that you can enjoy your health and not worry about your body succumbing and becoming a victim of the disease process. So the very first thing the body needs, of course, is oxygen. We can't survive more than a minute or 2 without oxygen. And we also need properly composed structure of water, which ensures complete and correct hydration. So as I said in previous videos, each one of these 9 factors that you see here, I can give an entire course on. So just know that right now I'm outlining the basic concepts on what you need to be aware of to maintain your health. And also, you will, if you'd like to enroll in one of my courses, I go into these kinds of things more in depth. So an overview like this will introduce to you and give you a strong foundation on somewhere to start to begin to detoxify the body gently and gradually and safely with the correct cleansing foods in your diet every single day, knowing what to eat. And also to be aware of all of the things that cause disease, the degenerative disease process of our population. We are a very sick population at this point in time because people are eating the wrong things, the wrong molecules at the micro level, not nourishing the trillions of cells within the body, literally starving themselves to death. So this is something that I'm on a mission to reverse. So I'd like to, with these videos, to make sure that people are getting the correct information to be able to really know what they're doing when they're managing their health. So authentic health requires authentic information and thorough enough education for the masses. So I'm on a mission to restore the genetic code back to its optimal functioning form so that people in our population can be healthier and lead more productive and happier lives. So oxygen and hydration are the first things that you need. Enzymes, the vital catalyst for all biochemical reactions. Without enzymes, life ceases to exist. There are no biochemical processes, no bodily processes. Nothing happens in life without these enzymes. And enzymes are destroyed with cooking. So any kind of heat over 120 degrees Fahrenheit will destroy enzymes. So then the body has to dip into its own resources to create the enzyme, which is a protein, the various enzymes that are required to perform its function. So if you're not eating a lot of raw fruits and vegetables and whole grains, things like that, in their enzyme active form, then you're cheating your body out of these valuable enzymes, and your body's having to stop what it's doing in another less vital, life-giving process to pay attention to its vital organs like the heart and the brain and the nervous system, these vital organs such as the kidneys and the liver. So all of these processes come to a halt when there are not enough enzymes in the body from the diet every single day. The third thing is nutrient absorption and utilization. So again, if you are not taking in enzyme active foods, your body cannot break down those gigantic molecules of carbohydrates and proteins and fats and break it down to absorb it through the cell membrane, which is where health happens. So if your body cannot break things down to that minute basic level, then you aren't going to experience the optimal health vibrancy because your body won't be able to utilize those nutrients. The 9 essential amino acids are important as well. And as I said before, when you eat an animal-derived protein, you have all 9 essential amino acids that the body cannot produce on its own right there present at the same time in optimal quantities so that the body can build new body proteins, blood, bone, tissue, all sorts of structures and biochemicals like hormones and enzymes. So enzymes are also proteins. So it's very critical to have all 9 essential amino acids present in the right quantities in every single meal because the body requires these amino acids every 4 to 6 hours. And it's even more critical for growing children and athletes or those who are recovering from injuries or traumas or surgeries, things like that. So we definitely need proteins. We are composed of mostly proteins besides water, which is 70 to 80% water, depending on one's age. The younger a person is, the more they're composed of water in their tissues and inside their cells. So proteins are the next in line as far as body composition. So everything in the body that we are made of besides water are proteins. And these are complete proteins. So if you're a vegetarian, then some kind of animal protein in your daily diet is very, very critical because you're consuming less of those 9 essential amino acids all in one place, in addition to the vitamin B12 and the very highly absorbable iron, which is very important also. So iron has to do a lot with carrying oxygen in the blood in the form of hemoglobin. So the proteins are extremely important, and those amino acids are very critical. So if you're eating, say, some beans and you're combining it with, this is a legume, so if you're combining it with a grain, then chances are you might not be getting all 9 essential amino acids. So it's important to know the amino acid content of your plant food, that you will still be missing the vitamin B12 and the 100% absorbable iron, which is called heme iron, which is not present in plants. Sometimes the iron in plants are difficult to extract and utilize, and they're not easily utilized as much as the animal iron. Okay, so there's a lot of debate going on about that. If you're an individual who can utilize all the amino acids in various plants and you know how to put together all the right combinations of plant foods to attain this essential amino acid condition every time you eat a meal, then more power to you. Just you make sure that you supplement the vitamin B12 and the right kind of iron as well. So I don't recommend taking any isolated nutrients, certainly not iron, because that can build up in the liver and cause toxic liver. So, my scientific position is different from my personal wishes. My scientific position is that animal proteins are the best source of the 9 essential amino acids, and that plants are only partial proteins because they don't contain those 9 essential amino acids. And you have to be very careful when you're putting together your meals to maintain your body's protein needs. So if any one of these amino acids are missing in a diet, then you are going to come short and you're going to experience at some point protein deficiency symptoms. Okay, so the body does break down whole proteins into smaller proteins called peptides, and then eventually down to the basic amino acids, and only then will they enter the cell membranes, and only then will your body be able to produce new body tissues and maintain your nervous system, everything from your hair to your nails to your skin to your eyes, and everything is made out of those essential amino acid building blocks. Whole food carbohydrates are the best forms of sugars. Your body will break them down ultimately to glucose, which is the blood sugar molecule that fuels the brain and the muscles, and the body will convert glucose to a starch called glycogen and store that in the muscles if you're physically active and you're constantly using your muscles for that. So the body knows how to load up on its nutrient stores, and it will store the sugar in the form of glycogen. However, too much sugar in the bloodstream will also be turned into body fat. So it undergoes a different pathway for that. So one has to stay active and make sure they're not taking in too many foods in high concentration at once, or you have to learn also to monitor your body and stop eating when you're full. And you also have to make sure that you know about nutrients, which is coming up next. If you don't know what foods contain the right amounts of nutrients in your body, then you will be missing those nutrients as well. So yes, there's much to learn and there's much to go over, which is why I started this video series, so that you can get an idea of the kind of knowledge it takes to properly maintain your health. And this is what I serve to teach people this and to gradually feed it to you so that you're not overwhelmed by too much information. You might already know some of this already, which is great, but if you don't, I'm here to help you begin your journey toward authentic, optimal health, to realize your full, healthful, and human potential. I see a lot of diminished potential out in the human body, out in the human population, and it seems that the ability to learn and focus and concentrate and create and to think creatively and think logically, those kinds of human factors are being diminished in our population, and it's because these cells are being damaged by many, many things, pollution and all sorts of things, which I also will be going over. So this is very important to be aware of and begin to learn and teach yourselves using the right information. So that's where I come in. I separate fact from fiction, and I teach people how to gather information and research information as well. So don't want to become anyone's guru, but I want to teach people how to help themselves in this area, which is desperately needed. People have no idea what's going on in their body, and they also have no idea where to turn to for trustworthy and credible information that actually protects their health and has their personal health in their best interest. So whole food carbohydrates is extremely important too, none of the refined stuff, because they refining foods strip foods of their whole complexes, okay, and it alters their fats. So you've got healthy healing fats in foods, and you have and carbohydrates, and then you have the refined version of them, the altered molecular version that's grossly altered to the point where the body doesn't know what to do with and creates inflammation pathways all over the chain reaction of problems. Okay, so whole food proteins, whole food carbs, whole food fats are the most important things that you can pay attention to. So fatty acids are the basic components. Once your body breaks down fat, the right fat, then it will turn into fatty acids, which also are utilized, and the body turns into some wonderful things such as healthy nerve cells, where the neurons are firing correctly, so that makes your brain and your reactions to things in life, handling stress, things like that, those are very important. And fatty acids are also precursors to the tens of thousands of hormones the body makes, that which are regulating, monitoring proteins that circulate in the body all the time and help start and stop biological, biochemical processes going on in the body. Vitamin complexes are extremely important. I say complexes because we've got some gigantic molecules in our foods that, and the body's job is to break them down, and to break them down to the point where the body can utilize them. They're also called coenzymes because they hook up with enzymes, and they help with all of the biochemical processes that the body requires every single moment of every single day of your life. So vitamins are extremely important too, but they have to be in their most natural form and in their whole complex form. So if you isolate a part of a vitamin, then it's called a synthetic vitamin. So, laboratory-made vitamins. So you want to have whole complexes, the full molecular complex in each of the vitamins, because each vitamin has a vast amount of structures, molecular structures to it. Okay, so the more whole foods you have in your body, the better it's able to recognize these molecules and break them down and utilize them and distribute them where needed. Mineral complex is the same thing. Inside the plant, there are atomic configurations of electrons that are extremely important. One missing electron can render a food toxic. So you want to eat raw, enzyme-active, mineral-rich foods that are grown in mineral-rich soils and healthy environments. So they are the cofactors in trillions of biochemical processes. So our body's constantly breaking things down and building things back up, converting one form of a chemical into another, either a simpler chemical or a more complex chemical, depending on what's going on in the body and what the body needs. So things are going on in your body every single day, and you have to be aware of what it needs to accomplish those trillions of processes every day. Phytonutrients, again, the antioxidant power of these phytonutrients, these I call them the lifeblood of the plant, the essential oils of the plant. So these are extremely important for health as well. And they protect the genetic code. So many things can alter the genetic code and turn our DNA into sick DNA. You know, when you change the genetic structure of our double helix inside the nucleus of each one of our cells, then things can go terribly wrong. Cancers can form, other diseases form, you've got mutations, you know, things like that. So we have to make sure that we take in plenty of these phytonutrient-rich foods that can protect our genetic code. Okay, so we don't want to alter our genetic code to the point where we are headed toward rapid extinction, so we want to protect that genetic code at all costs. And to detoxify, all of these plant foods also contain biochemicals that can bind and neutralize pollutants and help eliminate invasive organisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, things like that. These are very, very powerful foods in this section here. So as far as the animal-derived proteins, they help us maintain our whole body as far as amino acids goes and maintaining our tissues. And then the carbohydrates, the whole grains and legumes, those are important as well. And then the fats, raw nuts and seeds. So these are all very, very important foods, and they should not be left out of the diet. But it's when you alter them. It's when you spray them with chemicals, you know, when you try to grow such foods in the typical traditional way in agriculture, the mono agriculture, one crop at a time that invites insects. But when you have a combination, so you take a permaculture food forest and you're growing all of the above together, it confuses the insects that normally would come and be predators to these crops. So it's important to have a diversity in how you grow your food and creating a healthy environment and whole living habitat and ecosystem. So there's another subject that I could get into in great depth, so you can foresee the kinds of things that I will be teaching here in this Health Transformation series. So as far as the 9 factors that you need to know of, let's go on, and I'd like to go on to the next part of this video series. So as our father of medicine, Hippocrates, said, let food be thy medicine, let medicine be thy food. Be aware of the superfood botanicals that are available out there. There's been plenty of scientific research that spans hundreds of years and in more recent decades have increased in the study of what plant-derived foods can do for the body. They've been compared to sometimes medical drugs and oftentimes the specific formulations of herbs or vegetables or fruits, you know, nuts and seeds, things like that. They have proven themselves to be quite effective and a few times more effective with no side effects compared to a drug used for a similar condition. So as I said before, I'm not a medical doctor. I do not tell people to get off the medication, but I do focus on nourishing the body completely and correctly, giving it all of the nutrients that it's looking for and in desperate need of. So when I've done that for my clients, I've taught them how to select the foods they need and select the supplements they need. So then when their health improves and they go back to their doctors for another visit, their doctors are perplexed, they're bewildered, they are confused, and they don't know what's going on. But, you know, a lot of times they say, well, I don't understand what happened. I've tested you over and over again, and you know, that problem has vanished. What happened? It must be a wrong test. Order another test. They just can't seem to get it through their head that the client is just merely giving their body what it's designed to use, and the body in its DNA instructions and in the genetic code knows what to do to repair and restore and regenerate and continue to function optimally as possible, you know. So this is what's so exciting about learning about what the body actually needs to function properly. Okay, so anyway, as far as superfood botanicals, I believe that every fruit, vegetable, nut, and seed, and herb, and any other raw food out there or any other botanical out there has its own unique attributes, but they also have a lot of common phytochemicals as well. But if you really want to learn more about and discover the truth without advertising hype, you can go to University Archives and look at their the database of scientific journals, hundreds and hundreds of scientific journals, and within those scientific journals there are thousands and thousands of scientific studies done conducted from major universities all over the world. So University Archives, scientific research, major universities, those are the primary places you want to go to get information about what a particular food or superfood botanical does for the body. Okay, so it's important to know that the more scientific studies you look at these various botanicals, the better idea you'll have of what that botanical will actually do. Sometimes there are studies out there that will contradict what another study has found, and when these studies are reviewed, they're analyzed for how effective the study really was. And another thing you want to look for is who conducted the study. Was this university, was this scientific research done based on specific interests? Who funded the study, and who was pushing the outcome of the study, if at all? So this is pretty much the safest, most objective place you can go for information about the medicinal qualities of food is the scientific studies and conducted over time and gathered together to give you a much bigger picture of what's going on. Science is continuously researching, and we are constantly learning more and more about the human body and what botanicals do for the body. So this is where I come in. I've been researching for 40 years, and I continue to be amazed at what these plants are capable of doing for the body. So food is your medicine, and medicine should be your food. That should be the first thing. Preventive health starts with nourishing your trillions of cells. You know, they're interactive, they're communicating always. So they are searching for various nutrients so that they can compose these biochemicals that help your body function at its best. Another place to look is to look through your medical and, government scientific studies. Okay, a lot of times there's been a lot of research on medicine, and they're archived in government scientific archives, like the PubMed, National U.S. Library of Medicine, the National Institutes of Health, the Office of Complementary and Alternative Medicine are some of the government offices you can go to online and type in a plant or subject, and a lot of research can come up. A whole list of research studies will come up for you. The peer-reviewed studies by peer-reviewed boards, you know, people with PhDs and who are neutral, hopefully will review a handful of studies or many studies, and that's pretty much the best, well-rounded conclusion that have been done on all these studies on these different botanicals and whole foods. Research organizations are also credible oftentimes if they are science and evidence-based research that they conduct. and they're not associated with any other outside entity if their sole purpose is to research and present the scientific evidence in order to educate. So yeah, there's good research, so-called research organizations out there, but there are also very credible and very valuable research organizations doing very great work out there. Research hospitals, their clinical applications in botanical medicine are very eye-opening and very, there's just revelations that are going on all over the medical community when research hospitals apply these botanicals and compare them to how drugs work. So there's a lot of that work going on. Hopefully it will continue. And then, of course, there's thousands of years of empirical data. Indigenous healers have meticulously and methodically documented all of their techniques in using botanical combinations and formulations and applying them over time. I'm not talking about over a year or over even a century. I'm talking about thousands of years. China, India, Native Americans, Africa, all of these indigenous populations have been gathering knowledge about healing for thousands of years, literally. The Materia Medica in China, from China, for instance, is literally a couple thousand years old. So these are very, very valuable sources of information. So the indigenous healing wisdom, firsthand experience, generation after generation, it has a lot of these formulations and applications by medical systems outside of Western medicine have been confirmed by scientific studies. So, I don't want to say validated because that would be really arrogant. The Western medicine and our science is relatively young compared to the thousands of years of knowledge that's been gathered by various medical systems throughout the world that are quite ancient, actually. So the indigenous healing wisdom is very important as well and should not be dismissed. But when it's put through the ringer of the rigid scientific method and they can actually conclude that, oh yeah, that particular, botanical does indeed heal this condition or, does have this particular effect. So this is very important to understand too. Other medical systems throughout the world apply the nutritional therapies every day, and that is what they consider the primary way to do human healing. So a lot of systems are still operating that way and healing the body safely and sensibly in that manner. So why and how degenerative disease happens? Okay, let's take a look at that. When you eat altered and synthetic foodstuffs and the liquids that contain distorted foreign molecules, then you're going to have some major health issues forming in the body. Your body's trying to utilize these molecules that are distorted and unnatural and just not utilizable. So that's going to cause a whole chain reaction of inflammatory responses, immune responses, and it goes into an emergency mode whenever the body is given these kinds of things. Free radicals, they're full of free radicals because once you alter a food beyond recognition, then it becomes what they call free radicals, where the atomic structures are missing electrons. And so they get into the body and they scavenge perfectly healthy cells that contain the right configuration of atomic components, the electrons. And so the body has to donate electrons to these free radicals to keep them from causing havoc in the system and to try to eliminate these foreign substances. So the body can recognize the right molecules and it also recognizes the wrong molecules. Okay, so your vital functions, your digestive system, the absorption of nutrients, and distributing those nutrients throughout the body and arriving at all these different locations. The bloodstream carries things all over the body to nourish the body and to allow nutrients to enter your cells of every single type of tissue. So we have different types of cells that do different functions. Nerve cells are completely different than blood cells. brain cells are completely different than hair and skin cells, things like that. So basically the body uses those nutrients and it can distinguish the difference between the different tissues, and it knows exactly what nutrients are utilized for those tissues. So it's very important to give your body the right molecules and not stuff yourself with distorted molecules. So missing essential nutrients daily, they can cause, like I said, a whole chain reaction of inflammatory and immune responses. They degenerate and destroy healthy tissues. They disrupt normal cell functions to the point where the disease process can set in. Malfunctioning of those vital instructions in your genetic code can form cell mutations, and that results in incorrect body maintenance to the point where you start the disease process, and you start degenerating, so deteriorating. And chronic oxygen starvation, dehydration happens when you put the wrong foodstuff in your body, and then you become sluggish and your circulation becomes stagnant, and that's truly the beginning of the disease process. It's really sad that children consume the totally wrong molecular structures from their so-called foods. Fast food restaurants are starting to pay attention to the right types of nutrition in people. So it's important to know that finally people are demanding healthier food, even from fast food restaurants. Okay, so here's a little, I don't know if you can see this, but if you're using your phone, it might be small to see, but if you're using a laptop or a PC, then you can probably see this a lot better. This is a heart that is forming plaques around the outside of and inside of the artery, so that creates inflammatory conditions because these are being damaged and there are lesions being formed in the blood vessels, and they're breaking open and forming clots. These are very, very dangerous because those clots can break loose, and they can circulate throughout the whole entire body. And if they are closed off enough, then it can obstruct the blood flow to the point where there are also more ruptures and more clots and more obstruction. And so that would obviously back up the blood and cause blood vessels to burst somewhere with the pressure, or cease to provide oxygenated blood to the brain and cause a heart attack or a stroke. So that's what happens when you eat the wrong food. Any food that has been heated with oil at a high temperature, or even stir-fried slightly, it starts deteriorating the fat, and it starts changing the molecule into a plastic, which can stick to the arteries as well. So fried foods are the single most, I would say, dangerous thing you can put in your body. So anytime you eat a food that's been, like a plant oil, has been hydrogenated, gone through the process of hydrogenation, it becomes solid or a plastic, and so that also can stick to the arteries. When patients have been examined who have passed away from heart disease, when you open up the patient and you look at their hardened arteries and they examine the plaques that have been forming there, they're usually made out of plasticized fats like this, rather than the animal-derived fat. So animal-derived fats do contribute to high cholesterol, and depending on the person's level of stresses, then they can definitely start forming the plaques. But usually they're mostly made out of plasticized oils and things like shortening and margarine, foods that are fried in super high temperatures in their oil. So yeah, those are the things that cause a lot of health issues. So the degenerative disease process, it's a national epidemic, and it's 99% preventable. So that 1%, if you're born with a genetic, disease, then even that can be tempered with optimal nutrition, because the body will recognize and do everything it can to ensure optimal functioning, or at least as much as possible toward optimal functioning. So the quality of life can be improved even then. But as far as the rest of it, 99% is preventable. Dr. Linus Pauling, he was the so-called vitamin C doctor. He was, sensationalized as that, but he was actually a two-time Nobel Peace Prize winner. And he actually said, he was quoted to say, that 99% of all human diseases could be prevented by proper nutrition. So, and I tend to agree. Based on the practice that I had in Northern California for 30 years, and I had clients come in, I was able to help them overcome a wide diversity of health issues, and it always surprised their physicians, surprised their family and friends, surprised themselves when they applied the nutritional system that I have created, because I had analyzed so many diets out there, even government, guidelines, dietary guidelines. They didn't seem to be enough because they didn't cover, they didn't put enough emphasis on the phytonutrients and the enzymes and the vitamins and minerals and what they do for the body. So I made up my own system after analyzing all these diets that just didn't seem to work either. People were going around with nutrient deficiency diseases, and all I did was teach them how to apply those nutrients, and lo and behold, their bodies got well. So I gained this reputation of being able to help people overcome so many different ailments. But actually, it was their doing. They applied the correct nutritional system, and their bodies got well, and they went on to live tremendously better lives because of it. So we have to remedy the fact that most people are under gross nutrient deficiency conditions, and they're suffering from pain and inflammation, long-term chronic fatigue, skin problems, digestive eliminative problems, other organ malfunctions, circulatory problems. They're more prone to injuries and are slow to heal. And this is true for athletes as well, because they're constantly breaking down their tissues in their hard workouts, but they fail to recuperate nutritionally so that the body can come back stronger and more efficient than ever before. So this is something that needs to be known by everyone. It's not just athletes that need to know this. Everyone needs to know that their bodies are breaking down old cells, getting rid of things that have been worn out, but their body's trying to make new cells, and they're only using the mother cell to replicate into new cells. But if the mother cell is degenerated to the point where the DNA is damaged, it's replicating this damaged DNA into new cells, and so that's where people's health starts deteriorating, and that's how they start aging rapidly. So rapid aging is not normal. A person should be able to age very, very slowly over time. When your family and friends tell you, gosh, you never age, you never change, you're timeless, that's how it should be. Your body is designed to last a lot longer than what most people's age limits are these days. So, if you get to the point where you need someone to help you push the vacuum cleaner from your wheelchair, then you've allowed your body to degenerate to the point where it just cannot have the normal functioning that's required. This gentleman doesn't really look that old. He looks like he's in his 80s. And biologically, our genetic programming which should allow us to live to be 120 years old. And so 88 would be considered very young compared to 120 years. So also, if you have knee joint problems and your cartilage is wearing down and you've got extreme pain and inflammation and swelling, then you're probably protein deficient, because when your body needs protein, it goes straight to the connective tissues. Those are the least vital parts of the body. So when your brain and your blood and your bones and your skin and your organs require protein, that's the first place your body goes to gather the right types of proteins or amino acids. Okay, so if you're having a heart attack, and obviously you have not been giving your body the right types of fats and the right types of phytonutrients and enzyme active foods that help break down fats properly and distribute them where it's needed, like in the nerve cells, in the brain, the skin, the functioning of your hormones. All those things are required by fatty acids and from the whole fats that you must take in. But if you're taking in the wrong fats, then the artery hardening process sets in, and heart attacks are inevitable. So long-term debilitation, when someone is recuperating from surgery or a major injury, then it will take a lot longer for the body to heal, because the nutrients just aren't there to repair it properly and restore it. So advancing stages of disease, again, this is a degenerative process, and your cells are replicating, they're searching for the right nutrients to repair the body properly and bring it back to optimal health, but it just can't because the nutrients aren't there. So that's how the advancing stages of disease and continue to degenerate a person's health. Sleep problems. The wrong types of fats, the wrong types of sugars, the synthetic chemicals, all those things will disrupt your hormones and disrupt the way your nerve cells fire their neurons to communicate. to other cells in the body. So you've got a lot of disturbances going on there that would cause a lot of sleep disorders. Stress-related symptoms, if your nerve cells are worn out and they're not functioning optimally, then handling stress becomes very, very difficult. So a lot of symptoms will appear, mental overwhelm and overload, and the inability to think and learn like you did when you were younger or healthier. So stress-related symptoms are extremely a big red flag, to let people know that they need to restore the functioning of their nerve cells and their hormone system. Medication side effects. Medications are designed to stop and turn off certain mechanisms that are natural and normal for the body to function. But if it's in a disease process, then things aren't operating normally. So that's a drastic measure to turn off a health threatening process the body's going through. And the side effects themselves are horrific. If you ever look up any kind of medication in, say, Medline, the online database that the government regulates, then you will see that that particular drug has very scary side effects. So it's important to be aware of these side effects so that you know that it's the side effects of the drug that's affecting your health and not necessarily your body's succumbing to all these ailments, So when someone goes on one medication, they end up snowballing because they experience symptoms and tell their doctor, and their doctor prescribes another medication to stop that symptom, and it just keeps going and going. And pretty soon someone is taking, 10, 12 or more medications, and so hopefully that's preventable. I have seen that being reversed in my clientele when they follow my nutritional program. Alcohol, drugs, and tobacco, of course, we all know how damaging those drugs are and how addicting those are. So pollution, toxic chemicals, when you ingest foods that have been sprayed with pesticides, it's like picking a can of Raid and spraying your food with it and then eating it. So that's pretty much what you're doing when you purchase foods that are not organically grown. And even if you scrub it off, sometimes the pesticides are systemic in the plant, so they get absorbed into the plant. So you're not only, you think you're washing off all the pesticides, but you're actually ingesting them anyway inside the structure of the plant, especially genetically modified foods where they alter the DNA and they insert, these pesticides inside the DNA of the plant itself, so that the plant itself becomes a pesticide, and then they turn around and sell it to people for human consumption. So there's a lot of evidence that is mounting about the toxic and dangerous health effects of these polluting chemicals that are being used on our crops. Sedentary lifestyle. Now that's the most important thing you can do besides nourish yourself properly. So moving as much as you can, whether you're in a wheelchair like this, anything that will increase your circulation is a good place to start. And starting out gently if you are a heart patient or are under doctor's care. And also if you have an injury, the rehabilitative process is possible if you're highly nourished, and the body will start repairing the damaged tissues. So sedentary lifestyle is a dangerous thing, especially for a young person. People are dying of heart attacks at younger and younger ages. They're becoming diabetic at younger and younger ages. Do what you can to get moving, to keep it moving, to increase your circulation, oxygenate your cells, and help your body eliminate toxic chemicals as soon as possible. Not that you want to do a detoxification process very quickly. I never advocate that. I think the detox process should be gradual and gentle so that the body has time to adjust into the inflow back into the circulatory system, toxic chemicals that have been stored in the tissues for a long time. So, there's a way to do it, the proper way to begin an exercise program. In my book, True Health Mastery, Transform Your Health, Change the World, I outline a holistic exercise program where you increase your flexibility and you also maintain your muscular strength and endurance, and therefore your cardiovascular system, your heart, and your lungs, and your blood vessels can take a progressively increasing amount of strain, and you don't really feel it because when you get that in better and better shape and you're recuperating from your workouts properly, then you definitely will not experience the physical and mental, psychological stress of exercise, of people who try to do too much too soon. So that has its dangers and its ramifications, you know. So, okay, so get rid of your sedentary lifestyles and start moving around and do things that make your body more flexible and to increase your strength and to increase your endurance. So therefore your body will burn body fat even at rest, even when you're sleeping. You know, if you keep your metabolism up much more efficient and faster, then your body will burn calories much more quickly as well. Okay, this is where I'm going to stop this particular video, and in the next video, this is where it really gets fun, where you'll be able to see how your body is organized, going from the whole organized system to the individual organ systems, to the individual organs within those systems, to the tissues that compose those particular organs, which are varied as well, and what these cells look like, these microscopic cells that are held together to form the tissues of these organs, the organelles that are inside the cell, the brain of the cell, and the manufacturing site, the energy production site, the disassembling and assembling factories, how they enter inside and outside the cell. It's really fascinating how the human body is so intricate in its detail. And so then you get down into smaller levels, you can look at gigantic molecules of foods and botanicals, and then the individual molecules that make up these whole molecular complexes, and then the atomic structure, the electron configuration that you want to preserve in your body to prevent your these scavenger chemicals and microorganisms from attacking your cells and removing the atomic structure of it, and therefore rendering your body much more vulnerable to illnesses and disease. So the body takes care of itself. All you have to do is eat right, you know. And I have the perfect system for doing that. It's been in the making for over 40 years, and I've applied it over and over again for all manner of conditions. So I will teach you my system, and after I give you a overview of what to look forward to as far as what you will learn in it. So this is a picture of the DNA. Now these are the genetic codes. These are the sequences of nucleotides that are the rungs of the DNA. So those things you must protect at all costs. You know, you've got to eat right and provide your body with the right molecules so that it will break down and do the necessary repair work and maintain its structure and maintain this proper sequencing. If you confuse the sequencing of your genetic code, then it can become a very dangerous condition. That's where diseases form, when your cells are replicating incorrectly and you're transcribing from the old mother cell into the new cell the incorrect information. This is a protein. They're composed of amino acids and carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And every protein is unique. Every protein is twisted and turned a different configuration. And when it arrives at the cell membrane, the cells either recognize it or reject it. So there can be inflammatory proteins that are not good, that are formed in response to junk food or pesticides, so to speak. So, and this is inside of a typical cell. You know, cells are shaped differently depending on what organ and organ system there are. So these are the factories that determine your health, and these are the factories that build your body. Okay, and here's the cell membrane. If you were to enlarge this membrane right here, this is the ultimate in allowing or not allowing things into your cells. So if you put things in your body that don't belong there, then there's going to be a damaging effect on these cells. And once the cell membrane is broken down and destroyed, then the whole environment inside the cell is destroyed as well. Okay, so yes, there are so many different organ systems, and learning at least the basics about what these different organs do will certainly go a long way toward allowing you to protect yourself. So let's go into that next time, and I'll stop the video number 3 here. So I want to thank you for staying with me so far, and I hope you find this as fascinating as I do and as exciting as I do, because fixing the health and the disease process, this disease epidemic in our country, this is how to do it. I've witnessed this for 40 years. I've seen what the body can do once you nourish it properly, and I've seen how it can change lives, and I've seen the revealing of optimal human potential. And so I want the whole population to experience this kind of optimal health and vibrancy. Just make your molecules vibrate at a higher frequency, in tune with the whole planetary frequency and the frequency of the entire universe. There's a definite, it seems to download onto a healthier person much more awareness and information and intuitive responsiveness to things in life in general. So perspectives change, ideas and creativity that is nurtured. There's a lot of great surprising things that happen as a result of caring for the body properly. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining me, and I shall see you again soon.